My name is Trish Ware, and I am obsessed with all things pregnancy and birth, and helping you to navigate both the practical and the magical seasons of this journey called motherhood. I'm an all-day coffee-sipping mama of 7. I've had the amazing privilege of delivering many babies in my 15-plus year career as a labor and delivery nurse and as a mama of 7. I'm here to help you take the guesswork out of childbirth so you can make the choices that are right for you and your baby. Quick note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not replace your medical advice. Check out our full disclaimer at the bottom of the show notes. Good morning, everyone. Today's guest is Elizabeth Agrapidis, which I was so afraid I was going to pronounce that wrong. I am terrible with names, but you guys already know that. Elizabeth is a pediatric physical therapist, and she's an educator and just really passionate about helping new moms stay joyful. And we were chatting about this before we started. And we want to talk about some ways that Elizabeth can practically help you with those areas. With, maybe you haven't lost your joy yet, but we all go through seasons of that as moms. So Elizabeth, I'd love to just have you introduce yourself and just tell everyone, what you're so passionate about.
Hi, everybody. And thank you, Trish, for having me. I love connecting with you as always and with your moms. So yes, by trade, I am a pediatric physical therapist and I was a teacher prior to that. And so since then I've specialized in bringing my kind of knowledge of what I've seen to new moms and to the caregivers that they hire. So it's in both ways because I want them to help you to be equipped in setting up your baby from the beginning so that the baby is set up well with their brain, their body, their development, but then it also is going to give you peace. It's going to give you like less guilt about things, less worry that you're missing stuff or that you're messing something up. And so that's where my passion is. I mean, it just takes too long for like a mom in that whole area that I used to work in to get any help and to get to me. And so I'm just backed it all up and helping from the beginning.
So I love that. Can you explain what are some things that moms and babies are dealing with that they come to you? What are some practical things so some of these moms can understand?
Yeah, so definitely practical. So that's my whole thing is taking all of this and bringing it okay, what can I do about it? So I do NeuroPlay sessions, and I've named it NeuroPlay because it's doing all the high level stuff, but it's still play. So some ways that I like to help you at home is I call it an awake time schedule. And so it's a lot of the research and stuff out there and the help is all about the sleep schedule, and which is totally, I get it. I have 2 children. But what I like to help with is the awake time schedule because I remember personally the feelings, and you're like, sometimes you feel, yay, they woke up, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's like, oh no, I got to start all over, and then I don't know what I'm doing, or, you're tired. And there's a lot of things that go into that. But so I break it down to what are the things you need to get done during that awake time. And so when you look at it like that, it can take a lot of the overwhelm out of it. And the most important thing, you get the things in that are really the most important for the baby during that time. And then they get to go to sleep again. And I feel like it's 50% time they're sleeping and 50% time they're awake. I mean, depending on the baby's age. My mom told me this once when my kids were little, but it was like, as they age, they're going to sleep less. They're actually going to be awake more. And, you need to kind of get used to that. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess I do. So, I mean, it's, you guys know, but I mean, it's like a balance of, I love them with all my heart and then you're stressed out. So that's what I like to do is break it down. So first it's like, do you want me to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
schedule?
for sure.
Okay, I'm happy to. I have a new ebook that it's about you can pre-order it now, and it's going to go into more detail of this and actually show you the schedule and then some NeuroPlay activities. And then also I talk about the play space, how to set up a great play space. So then you don't have to worry about it. Like if somebody like me tells you, take them out of the containers, that's like my other thing, get them. Then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with them? So I help you with that too. So the schedule is very helpful because you can say, all right, when I go to the crib, this is what you do. You want to go in a certain frame of mind if possible. Like, hi, how are you? And if you're not feeling that yet, I'm okay if you leave them there for a few minutes. They're in a safe place. So you're already starting their view of the world. Like, oh, this person likes me and they're happy to see me. And believe it or not, there's just a ton of research out there. And so I like to do that for you too, is pull it all together. So you don't have to read research, but like the first 2 months are creating this, how they but how they create stress responses, and even later on in life, how they respond to stress with addictive behaviors. And so it's all kind of forming at the beginning, which is a little bit can be overwhelming because you're like, oh, great. Now I got to worry about that too.
Yeah. But I
Right?
like that because you're saying, okay, well, here's a small little thing you can do. How you greet them when
Yeah.
you enter the room and walk up to the crib or their sleep space.
Yeah. So that's how I start. And then if the first thing is changing the diaper, then there's a couple little things you do while you're changing the diaper. And I teach. So bicycling the legs, doing a little patty cake, rolling the hips both ways. And so it's like a protocol, so to speak, for like every time that you have them there. And it's with a smile or a song or however, right? And then they move to their play space. And then they have some time there. And we talk about how to make that a great place because, without the TV and without too much stuff going on. And then from the beginning, getting them used to being on the floor, because then we're developing their physical system. And then you make the food and then you feed them. And then when you're feeding them, hold them in a way, there's a lot of different, but it's each little step of that schedule, you can just check it off. Like, okay, I did the playtime. I got it in. And if you have a question about, or they're like, this is not working right, the ebook or the consultations is where you can be like, oh, wait, this is too much for me. This felt wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just, I'm trying to make all of the things that need to go into making these little humans a little easier. And because the mom stress and guilt and anxiety, and it's real. And we all know it's real. So don't want to go, oh, now you got to worry about their development too. Or you're messing up. Like you're not messing up. I'm just, no one's messing up, but we feel that way.
Well, and I love that because you're giving practical tips for each step. So you said for, greeting them, how to do that. Then you said for changing their diaper. What are some practical little NeuroPlay activities or ideas for when they are on the ground? What are a couple easy ones?
Okay, so let's say they're doing the first playtime and you're going to make the bottle or the food. That would be more of the independent playtime, which I feel babies need both the guided play and the independent time. And so then after feeding, there's another playtime, depending on, right, the schedules and the age. Then what I like to do is use one simple toy or maybe two simple toys. And you want to make the movement make sense. So if you're playing patty cake and they're looking this way or to their left, you don't want to keep doing patty cake and singing the song. Their attention's on something else. We want to connect. I'm big on connecting the experiences with the brain and the body. And the more you put that together, then the more, you are making sure your baby's going to be on track. And that's actually the name of the ebook, is make sure your baby's on track, lose the worry. So make it make sense. So if you're doing something, they're looking at you. If they're looking to the side and you're going to roll to the side, have one simple toy over there. That's developmentally appropriate, not 10 toys. Turn the TV off if you're engaging. Their system, one thing at a time.
That's my
they love
system
looking at.
too, Elizabeth.
Oh, good. Tell me.
No, I'm saying for myself. I cannot have my husband talking, the TV on, the kids running around talking. Like I can't, I need to have one simple toy at a time too.
Yes, I know. And, it's funny because sometimes I think moms are trying so hard to be great and be perfect, and perfect, by the way, is just unrealistic.
Your puppy is, she's on the counter.
I know.
Okay, I was just making sure we're aware of that. Those of you guys, this is so funny, you guys. So we're on video. You guys are just hearing audio, but Elizabeth has a new puppy, and I'm watching the puppy get on her kitchen counter behind her. So I had to say something. New puppies are so much work. Okay, so so you're kinda saying and this is what I teach my coaching clients: keep it simple. Simple works. Simple develops, complex fails. It really does. And it's the same with your babies. Keep it simple for you. I mean, for them, but also for you, because I think we as moms get so overwhelmed. I have to do this. I have to do that. I got to make sure that. No, let's keep it simple. And some of these activities are combining a lot of different, really valuable lessons into one simple activity. Don't you think?
Totally. And I think I'll just make a comment on Instagram, for example, or if you buy an app, for development, because everybody knows the word. It's okay, I need to work on development. That's a thing. But if you're a lawyer or an accountant or a mom, that's not your thing. You haven't been studying that your whole life. So that can be a big pressure. And then the way that our world is set up is it's like an impairment model. So I say this, right? And you being a nurse, you know what I'm talking about, but no one pays attention to anything until it's this big, huge, then they're like, oh, okay, now it's a big, huge problem.
Yeah.
So then your life that was on this path is going to go this way, and you're going to have your life completely changes. So I was not satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I think that it can be done better than that. And so from the very, very beginning, 2, 3, 4 months, if you're doing something simple, I know, like you said, bicycling the legs or doing patty cake, very simple, or putting them on their tummy, what you'll notice is if something doesn't work right, if something didn't feel right then, there's a very small thing that can be tweaked that can integrate it.
Yeah.
Because you have primitive reflexes. If anybody starts reading about that, your mind's going to be blown. You're like, oh, great. What is this thing now? Now I got to worry about that. You don't need to worry about that, because if the baby is developing and moving and their reflexes integrate, you don't even need to worry about it. So that's kind of where I come in with one little thing at a time. You're like, oh yeah, I know to play patty cake, but do you know to play patty cake? Make it make sense. Slow it down. Let them look at you. Make a smile. And then if you notice, or your nanny should be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not, call me, please.
Yeah.
But if you notice, say one of their arms is I say retracted, but pulled back, and you're like, I try to play patty cake and it doesn't work, right then, not 6 months from now, when your pediatrician's agrees with you, right then, there are small things you can do. I would teach you how to pull from their back and to stretch the arm really gently. And so right then it's fixed.
Okay.
And I don't know. Is that too many words?
No, that's perfect. And I think that knowing some of these little things will give these moms peace. And you brought up an important thing. Sometimes your pediatrician doesn't listen to you and thinks because you don't know what you're talking about and you're not an expert. And honestly, I feel like we as moms know, we may not know what we're seeing or why we're seeing it, but we see it. And so I love that you're saying hey, you might be seeing this. If you're seeing this, you're feeling this, here's some little things you can do that won't overwhelm you, and you don't have to wait for a doctor to approve it. These are safe for you to do with your baby. And I like that a lot. I think that's great. So what do you feel like most of the time, like if you had to narrow it down to one or two different things, what are most moms coming to see you in your real life practice? What are some of the things that these moms of, say under a year old?
So one big one stands out that sometimes the parents are afraid of movement. And so they maybe waited too long. This is just one example. I've had quite a few babies and they don't like movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you get to 6 to 9 months or more, if that's the case, it's harder to break. Like it's not break. It's harder to get them right. So then they're missing out on a ton of development, which means their brain is.
So when you
out.
say they don't like movement, break that down into like, as easy to understand. Like make me understand what that looks like for a parent.
So I'll give an example. I was actually working on the brother who was like 4 years old. We were doing other stuff and the baby was just coming with the mom and she was sitting and she did not move. She sat. And of course my brain is like, this baby was, I think she was like 8 or 9 months old. She should have been all over the place, trying to grab my stuff, getting in our session, getting the papers, climbing up on her mom. And so she just sat there. And so the mom thought that she was just a content baby and she was happy sitting. And so I knew, oh no.
You're ruining a lot of Mother's Days right now. You understand that? Everybody's like, oh my God, I thought it was just a content baby.
I'm sorry. So look, let me clarify. So it was a long time.
Yeah.
It was like a 9-month-old should not just sit
for an hour
for
session.
more than no, like for more than if she really likes it, it would have been like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And then they should be transitioning and moving and like, oh, that looks interesting. Kind of like the puppy, the puppy that's running around my house. Right. So what happened is, long story, blah, blah, blah. I had to find a way to kind of make a conversation and we wound up working together for quite a while with the little girl. And she didn't like me because I made her body move.
Yeah. And she didn't want to do that.
She didn't. And, it's not like we had a clear reason. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because she didn't have trauma at birth. She didn't have, there was no clear. She didn't have a diagnosis. She didn't fall on her head. Nothing happened. And so this mom may have not gotten this information for a really long time. Because when you tell your pediatrician, right?
Yeah.
My daughter just sits all the time and she's happy. He's going to be like,
well, good.
What's your problem with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had to do a lot of work because, your body, you have all these joints and they all have a certain amount of range of motion that they're supposed to use. And that's for a bunch of reasons, right? We live life. Movement is life. And her neurological system and her sensory system couldn't handle it. And that's the stuff that I would know. And I would try to move her. I'm like, oh, let me see you, and pick her up. So for a mom, sometimes they're afraid to pick them up in the air. And you're afraid to kind of tilt them over to the side in your arms and do squats while you're holding your baby and tilt them over to the other side and maybe do a little spin around when you hold them tight. If they have head control, you can hold them less tight. So that's what I meant by movement. I didn't clarify that very well, but all of that movement she hated. So she wasn't going to do any of it on her own. So she would have been significantly delayed. And so she was already delayed. She didn't walk till probably 16, maybe 17 months. But we were already, I was trying to fast track her, but everything required for walking requires movement of all the joints.
And she has to be okay with that.
And she had to be okay with it. Okay. She was just not interested. And I was not her favorite person, which hurt my feelings because babies are supposed to like me. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. But anyway, it turned out a very happy ending. And she's a little gymnast now.
What's another common, reason that a mom might bring their baby to you?
So a lot of times babies on their tummy, you'll see their arms kind of retract backwards like Superman. Not in the front, like when he's flying, but backwards in there. If I see that early, I want to fix it early, basically, is what the point of this conversation, because they're not able to use their arms. And so it can be for a multitude of reasons, but it's very, very important to start getting their core. Like I'll tell moms you could do raspberries. That's just an easy thing. There's some other stuff that I could definitely,
like when you say raspberries, like blowing raspberries on their tummy?
Blowing on their tummy.
Okay.
And then I have a baby doll I usually use, like shaking their tummy.
Okay.
Like to get it like tickling.
Some of these things we do naturally as moms anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But doing
sometimes
them intentionally.
People don't though.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes people don't know that.
Yeah.
Like swinging your baby in your arms. Sometimes, like I had a neighbor mom and she was like, oh no, that's too fast. And I was like,
oh,
nope, it's not. Let me show you. And she just didn't know, and it's not her fault. And so the shaking their tummy, sometimes you'll see their legs bend and their hips bend up like towards like a crunch, right? Just when you tickle their tummy or like shake it with your fingertips and blow on it and making it a fun thing. But that's what you want to see, because that was their abs like kicking on and it came up. So it's activating everything. And so that would probably be the second thing. If you get the core kind of going, their arms will start to relax.
Okay.
But if you take the arm and pull it, they pull it right back.
Okay.
You take the arm and pull it,
interesting,
and they pull it right back.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a big thing because nobody really knows that. And they're just like, what is going on?
Yeah. You know? And I think a lot of times, like, I don't even realize that I realized that was something that signified they might be not doing the right developmental, stage for tummy time. Like, because some of my kids did that. So I love all of that. And I feel like it's so rich for these moms. And I love that you're breaking it down into bite-size baby pieces, if you will, for these moms, because I think, like you said before, the overwhelm is so legit. And it's like so many things and you have to do it all at once. And like you said, maybe you're a lawyer or you're in sales or something and you're like, I don't know any of this stuff. Like, how do I learn all this? And then you shut down because it seems overwhelming. So tell everybody, like, where can they find you to get some of these tips? And you said your ebook is coming out. Tell us a little more about the ebook.
Okay, so you can find me, I'd say the easiest way right now is on Instagram. It's Abilifit, which is my company name, ABILIFIT _PD dev. So you can find it under my name too, but it's PD development. So Abilifit _PEDIDEV. And I have a lot of things linked on there that you can find me. My website is coming more towards moms. It's got a lot of nanny stuff on it right now, but you can read about me. It's abilifit.org.
Okay.
So the book it's like a 15-minute, give me 15 minutes is what I say. And I'm going to help you replace the worry with joy. Because if you're not sitting there overwhelmed that like, okay, the baby's going to be awake for like, you work up to 4 hours, but let's say, 3 hours, that can feel hard.
Yeah.
And so if you break it down into these sections, and I kind of separate it out a little bit, but it's like, give me it's a guide.
Mm-hmm.
Read it. And then whatever part stood out to you that you feel like, oh, that gave me a little sense of peace. I felt myself maybe breathing better. Go back to that section. Maybe it's the section on the play space, because you shouldn't have them in a container. And I can talk more about that later, but more than like 20 minutes per day. So then you got to have them on the floor. So if you're going to have them on the floor, if you have a little space created, and, I can help you with that, like just in consulting, like, hey, let's have this toy. How's your house set up? Maybe you need to put a little gate around it so they're safe because you have a big dog, or, whatever the case is. And so the book kind of just it's a guide to give you peace of mind. And we all had babies to have joy, like bring in the fun, bring in the play. And like I was saying earlier, when you get an app, sometimes I feel like it's overwhelming every week. They try to be helpful, but it's like, oh, this week a baby should be doing this.
Yeah.
And this week a baby should be doing this.
You're like, mine's not.
I don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't work that way. I don't work week by week. I use milestones as a guide of like, I know what it should look like. And so I'm trying to help you in an easy way know what you can be doing. And then it helps, it's going to help everything integrate.
I love that so much. And I'm so glad that you came on today. And I love that these moms can have like an easy, simple, again, this is my mantra in all areas of life, like keeping it simple makes it manageable. And if you feel like things are manageable, you're more likely to do them. So I love that. Thank you so much for coming on today. And good luck with that little stinker back there, that little puppy.
She's so cute, luckily, because if she wasn't cute, I don't know.
That's my Tula. She is something else. She's a year old now, but we still call her the puppy, but whatever. Well, thank you so much for coming today, Elizabeth. And for those of you guys listening, you can contact Elizabeth on Instagram. We'll put her information in the show notes. And just remember, you guys, you don't have to know all the things. Take it one little step at a time. All right. Thank you. Hey, Mama, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Birth Experience with Labor Nurse Mama. As always, please leave a review. Let us know what we're doing well and what you want to hear more of. And I will see you again next Friday. Bye for now.